I am not. Okay, so I'm going to ask here the vegan. So, sorry, I was going to attempt, that was the one diet I was going to attempt that I haven't ever done before because I've done everything else. And the biggest principles about it is bone density and connective tissue. What is happening, everybody? All right, it is Friday, and kind of give you a little insight on what possibly to try to do as you're going into the holidays here. So if you are working with me or doing check-ins and you are on a nutrition plan, this is perfect going into the holidays because then what we can do is on that day, on that celebration day, we can really enjoy ourselves. And you can kind of go up and over whatever you need to or your required amount. So let's say you're supposed to take in 3,000 calories each day and you've been doing perfect, and then it comes to Christmas Day and you have 10,000. That is fine. That is fine. And I explained this over on the Titan Crew is if you are dieting correctly and you're doing this right, and you come up on a day like a birthday or a Sunday or a celebration, or as the new generation calls it, a high day or a cheat day. And let's say you go over your calorie intake by 100, or you go over and by 10,000. Do you get fatter doing 10,000 compared to the 100? You don't. You don't. And what happens is, your body just disregards the extra calories that it can't use to fill out your body. And that's why it's so important to be consistent, because that's for the consistent person. You don't get fat because of one day. You get fat because of day in and day out of eating bad. And it's the same thing for getting in shape. You don't get in shape unless it's day in and day out of, dieting properly and training properly and sleeping and taking in the right amount of water, all those things. So the great thing that you guys all saw with the Titan Challenge and the Titan 12-week transformation is how fast people can change in 12 weeks. I mean, you guys even saw Bryce change in 9 weeks from close to 20% body fat below down to 9% body fat in 9 weeks. And the reason why that is because they were doing things correctly. And you can change that quickly. So I know that a lot of you guys say, hey, I want to be like you when I get to your age. You got to remember this, though. You don't get technically better with age unless you are completely psycho like us and on point and doing perfect. My point of saying that is because of the fact that when you are in your teenage years or in your 20s, you should look better than I do. Because I did. So you got to keep that in mind when you're doing this journey of training and getting ready. It is consistency. It's you saying, okay, enough is enough. Let's make this happen. Let's make this dream happen. And it happens quickly if you stay on track and do it correctly. One is the nutrition. Doesn't matter what style that you eat. I don't care if it's vegan, high protein, low carbs, or a diabetic diet, or a carnivore diet, whatever it is, my program sets you up perfectly to make sure that you're doing it, even if you have allergies, and make sure to remove the proper foods so you can eat the correct foods for you. So we have that coming out. And then we also have a program called Fast Start. Now, Fast Start, the reason I made this is because I know how today's society is so about, I need to be in shape today. I don't want to wait. And so it's interesting. 12 weeks seems like a long time to a lot of people, which is crazy to me because that goes fast. 12 weeks goes fast. So I started a program, and it's called Fast Start, and it's 30 days, and it kicks you into gear, and it makes you work your butt off, but it gets you in shape in 30 days. So that's going to launch on January 1st, just to keep you guys in the loop on what is happening. So enjoy this holiday season. Hello to Portland. I'm just seeing some messages here. You guys can ask questions too. As long as you're on here, you feel free to ask me some questions, and I'll see if I can answer them. And then also just anything you guys are thinking about, like YouTube videos or anything like that, it really helps out for me to understand what you guys are missing out on and what you guys would like to learn, all right, about YouTube videos or anything like that. I always give you what I think you should do, but I know that that's maybe jumping down the road a little bit too far, and you're missing the beginning points. Because the beginning points basically is just getting in there and staying on a nutrition plan, any nutrition plan, to be truthful, to start, and the training plan correctly. All right. Let's see what we got here. I am not. Okay, someone asked here, the vegan. So my principle and the biggest principles about it is bone density and connective tissue. The reason I'm still being able to do what I do is because of the density of my bones and how healthy I've kept them, and then the connective tissue and how I eat for connective tissue. That was always more important to me because I was an athlete and am an athlete relative to trying to be a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder is somebody that just wants muscle on top of muscle. Doesn't care about strength or anything like that. And for me, I wanted to be the ultimate superhero athlete. So I wanted the body, I wanted the strength, I wanted it all. And unfortunately, with the vegan diet, it pulls you away from a lot of the main nutrients for connective tissue and bone density. And you can do it supplementation wise, but also on top of that, it is such a large amount of carbohydrates that it would be, the amount of work I'd have to do to keep lean would be outrageous. So the main things, the reason why I wanted to do it is I wanted to see if it was healthy in the sense of blood levels. But the more and more you study and study and study this, it's not. So sorry, I was going to attempt, that was the one diet I was going to attempt that I haven't ever done before, because I've done everything else. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I am going to start a extremely low protein, but I'm going to keep the red meat in there because that's the number one thing. Red meat's the number one thing for connective tissue and density. So I am going to keep the red meats in, but I am going to go very low protein. So you guys got to remember, I'm about 285 pounds. And so for you guys that are like bodybuilders, or you put into the app on how much, if you want to gain muscle, I would need to take in around 450 grams of protein or more to try to be this like bodybuilder guy, which I'm going to barely take in 200 grams of protein and see how much of my strength I keep and how much muscle I retain by doing this. So that will be a fun test to do. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me see if there's any more questions. So someone here asked me, how do I train people with shoulder injuries? Guys, I am so advanced on injury rehab and training people with shoulder problems, to the point of where I actually trained a couple of guys that had cancer and actually had their shoulders removed. So they lost their whole capability of their shoulder. So the extreme levels of working around those exercises and working around to work everything you possibly can, besides the missing shoulder. In your cases, you probably don't have missing shoulders, but there's so many ways to work around that and continue forward. The one thing is, again, I know that you guys just look and then assume. The reason I'm still being able to do this is because of the little owies I've had through my career. I've been able to work around and continue forward. Again, I was in the magazines, so I was already winning shows by 1987, and we're going into 2020. So we're talking about 33 years of just being in the peak of the industry and in the magazines. And during those 33 years, not including the 10 years before that, I've had owies and little injuries that I've had to work around and continue forward. And so that's really helped me, besides training people, with injuries, especially pro athletes that need to come back, not just to come back to do the exercise, but to come back in such great shape to compete against the very best again. And that's a huge thing.